Namaskar friends. Now in this video I am going to describe the historical facts as has been stated in our ancient texts. Now friends, note that all over the world the written records, the historical records are considered to be the most important and most authentic records as far as our history is concerned. The scientific research and other researches are considered only secondary. The primary, most important, if any, historical fact has to be considered is from the actual historical records as have been stated in any of the ancient texts. Now, friends, in the previous lecture, we discussed that we are into the 28th Chaturyug of this Manvanta. Now, in this 28th Chaturyug, the Satyug has gone, Treta Yuga has gone, in which Bhagwan Ram had taken birth. Dwapar Yuga has gone, in which Bharat, the entire episode of Mahabharata had taken place. That has gone. And now we are into the Kali. And now we are into the beginning of the Kali. It is just the beginning. We are, as you must have seen in the previous lecture, we are about 5,000 years into the present Kali. Now, since the actual written records are considered the most important, it is amazing that no Indian historian has looked into our own historical records. There is a Puran called Bhavishya Puran. This is the abridged version I am showing you. But there are unabridged versions, and this same Puran has been abridged from 3 volumes. It is so big. Now, in its second volume, in the Pratisad Khand, the very first chapter, it starts with the description of the kings that were there in Satyug. This is followed by descriptions of the kings in Treta Yuga, then Dwapar Yuga, then even up to the beginning of Kali Yuga. And these historical names of the kings which are present in our printed Purans, I want to give an introduction to you in this video. Now first I will like to show you the the chapters from actual Bhavishya Puran. This is the scanned copy of part 2 of Bhavishya Puran. Now in this, the starting it says भविष्य महाकल्प के जो ब्रह्मा का उत्तरार्ध काल था. See, in the previous video we had discussed the second part of Brahma's life. उषा काल एवं 28वें सतयुग के जिसमें पहले वर्ष के तीसरे दिन. Friends, remember we discussed that it is in the second part of Brahma's life that after 50 years have already gone of Brahma, and in the second half of Brahma's life, this is the first year, and we are into the third day. Now it is written here, जिसमें पहले वर्ष के तीसरे दिन वैवस्वत नामक मनु उत्पन्न होते हैं. कौन कौन से राजा हुए और उनके राज्य का काल मुझे बताने की कृपा करिए. तदन सूजी सिंह द श्वेत वराह नामक कल्प में ब्रह्मा के पहले वर्ष के तीसरे दिन के 7वें मुहूर्त मतलब मनवंतर में वैवस्वत नामक मनु का जन्म हुआ. उन्होंने सरयू नदी के तट पर दिव्य 100 वर्ष तक घोर तप करने के उपरांत चीखने के द्वारा इक्ष्वाकु नामक पुत्र उत्पन्न किया था. Now, Ishwaku is known to be the first king of the Satyug. This is a well-known fact in Indian history. Now, from here onwards, all the descriptions are given in verses. So, I have condensed these verses into an Excel file, and with each name, I have given the number of years the king ruled and the approximate BC year. BC means before Christ, in which the king ruled. So now we go to the Excel file. Now, friends, this is the Excel file, and here you can see the Ishwaku king ruled for 36,000 years, and I have back calculated the BC year. How I have calculated? See, we know that the Satyug was 17 lakh 28,000 years long. Treta Yuga was 12 lakh 96,000 years. Dwapar Yuga was 8 lakh 64,000 years. And Kali Yuga, which has just started now, its total life is 4 lakh 32,000 years. Now, taking these figures, I have back calculated and I have arrived upon the approximate before Christ year of Ishwaku, and it comes out to be 38 lakh 91,000 years. Okay, now if we take the total number of years by each king, over here the total comes to 17 lakh 28,000 years. In this, I have done an adjustment of 3 lakh 40,000 years because maybe some records have been lost. As so many universities of India like Takshila and Nalanda were destroyed, so a lot of records were destroyed at that time, which will never recover now. But yes, you can get an idea. So over here, we take the total as 17 lakh 28,000 years, and using the back calculation method, we come to the birth of Ishwaku as 38 lakh 91,000 years BC. Now over here, Ishwaku's son was Vikukshi, Ripunjay, Kakus, Anina, Prithu. Prithu was a well-known king. Vishwagashva, Ardra, and so on. We go on. Among the most important of the kings was Bhagirath, who brought Ganga on earth. So the story of Bhagirath bringing Ganga on earth is not just a story. It is a true historical fact. And after that, we had so many kings towards the end of Satyug. Now, also note that the average age of each of these kings was around 30,000 years. There were some kings who had lesser age, like Trishanku was 1,000 years, Tridharma was 3,000, and so on. But on an average, first of all, the age was reducing continuously, and then the average age was, yes, around 30,000 years. Okay, this is the Satyug we were talking about. Now we go on to Treta Yuga. Now Treta Yuga started with King Sudarshan, and the third in the line was King Raghu, in whose name Raghuvansh started. The Vansh of Bhagwan Rama was started. From Raghu, the second king was Dashrath, then Ram, and then Kush. Okay, this is the important historical fact about Ram, and approximate year of birth of Ram is 21 lakh 13,000 years BC. or 2.1 million years BC. Now these days we are getting a lot of videos on YouTube. Some are describing Bhagwan Rama's birth time as 12,000 years BC. They are describing Bhagwan Krishna's birth time as 3 or 5,000 years BC and so on. And that is only on the basis of certain planetary positions. But here are some actual historical records which tell the actual year of birth of the kings during those periods, Yugas, and we are now able to calculate the exact, I won't say exact, but rough BC year when Bhagwan Rama and Kush and Dashrath and Raghu had taken birth. Okay. Now in this, in Treta Yuga, note that the average lifespan was around 10,000 years of all the kings, 10 to 15,000 years. Here we have Yadus going up to 1 lakh years. We have Kroshta 60,000 years. We have Nagna 20,000 years. Now you will wonder that how are all these kings are showing so much, such long ages. Such ages are not possible. Friends, I'd like to tell you there are certain sadhana practices which are very tough. If you do those sadhanas, then even today, yes, I'll repeat it, even today, you can have life of tens of thousands of years. It is a fact. I know I am aware of those sadhana practices. Okay. So in those times, in Satyuga and Treta Yuga, possibly these sadhana practices were the normal part of the life of the kings. And normally kings used to perform those sadhanas and they used to achieve such large spans of age. So this is not a story, this is not a imagination. These are the actual lifespans of the kings who rule the earth. Now we come to the Dwapar Yuga. This is one of the very important yuga. Now in this again the yuga starts with Samvarna king, 10,000 years, Archagya, 10,000 years. Then the age starts to decline. Then we come to Dushyant and Bharat. You see, Shakuntala Dushyant story everybody is aware about. And now it is considered as a story written by a poet. But it is not a story. It is the history of India. And Dushyant, King Dushyant ruled for 2300 years. And his son Bharat, he ruled for 36,000 years. This is a reality which happened in Dwapar Yuga. Now we come down further and we come to the Mahabharata times. Before that, I like to tell you that the year of birth of Dushyant was approximately 5,25,000 years BC, and that of Bharat 5,23,000 years BC. And we come to the Mahabharata times. Today, many historians are saying that it's about 5,000 years BC, but it is not. It is about 1,02,000 years BC, the king Shantanu, from where the story starts. Vichitraviriya Pandu. Pandu was 1 lakh years BC. Then Yudhishthira was born 1 lakh years BC. But look at the lifespans. Now, lifespan has come down from 10,000 to 5,000, again rising to 12,000, Then it is coming down to 1000 and even 200, even Yudhishthira 50 years. Yudhishthira ruled for 50 years. And Duryodhana also ruled for 60 years. Now, there is a slight contradiction here, but we'll not get into that right now. Now, after Yudhishthir, it was Abhimanyu who ruled. Now, again, here is a contradiction because Abhimanyu was killed in the Mahabharat war. But possibly this is another son in the family of the Pandav. After that, we have Janmejay, Parikshit, and then Janmejay. And then it goes on, then the age keeps coming down. And here we have another very important mention in Bhavishya Purana. See, this is all mentioned in Bhavishya Purana. The last of the kings in India was Sunand, the Hindu kings. But since it was the end of Dwapar Yuga, because the Dwapar Yuga was coming to an end, the Mlechas means the people living in the West and who did not believe in the Indian this thing, values and principles. So they have been termed as Mlechas. Now their dominance had started somewhere around 10,000 BC. Now this is mentioned in our Bhavishya Puran that Adam and Eve, they took birth around 9745 BC and they ruled for 930 years. Then they had several sons, but among them Shwet was the one who continued the dynasty. Then Anu, Finash, Mahilal, Mangar, Girad, Hanu, Matochil, Lomak, and then Noah. Noah is very important, and everybody is aware of the uh, person with the name Noah. And all these are mentioned in Bhavishya Purana. Okay. And the number of years they ruled is also mentioned. 112 years for Shwed, 110 years for Anu, and finally for No, 500 years in Dwapar Yuga. Now, we know the story of No. One more thing I'd like to tell you that all of them were the worshippers of Bhagwan Vishnu, as has been mentioned in Bhavishya Purana. And they used to offer fruits to Bhagwan Vishnu in fire, in Havan. What we have Havan these days. They used to offer fruits to them. And all of them, all their generations, they were worshippers of Bhagwan Vishnu. And finally, coming down to know who ruled for 500 years in Dwapar Yuga, since he was also a worshipper of Bhagwan Vishnu. So Bhagwan Vishnu gave him darshan in the sleep and told him that a huge deluge is going to come after so many days. So for that you should prepare a boat and save all your living, like all the animals and we know the story. So Noah took all of them in his boat and went to the Himalayas when the deluge came. Okay. So what happened after the deluge? Now we come to the Kali Yuga. Now here, no, after starting of the Kali Yuga, and that was about 3043 years BC, he ruled for 50 years after the deluge, and after the deluge had subsided. Okay, and in this deluge, only Noah and the persons who were saved by Noah, they survived, and 88,000 rishis from India who were under the Suji sage, they survived. So at the time, because those rishis also got the message that a deluge is going to come and they had shifted to the Himalayas. So at the time of deluge, Noah and his co-survivors and the 88,000 rishis were able to survive the deluge. Okay, we'll come to that story of 88,000 rishis, but I'll give you a reference. Most of you must be listening to the Sri Satnarayan Vrat Katha. In that, the very first line, it says that 88,000 ऋषियों ने सूत जी से पूछा. So these were those 88,000 rishis who survived the deluge and who were there when the Kali started. Okay, so no rule for 50 years, then after that, Shim, Arkansas, Sinhal, Ibr, Falaj, Rao, Juj, Nahur, and Taha. They were the major kings on earth. Okay, the dominance of Mlechas had started, and this was from the year 3000 BC to approximately 282 BC. After that, the major king who was there on earth was Vikramaditya. He was in India. And the rest of history, most of us, we know about it. Then came Jesus Christ, then came King Shalivahan, then came, there were 10 kings in the period of 500 years. Then there was Raja Bhoj, one of the major kings on earth. And during his lifetime, there is the episode of Muhammad. And after that, there were 7 kings in the duration of 300 years, and so on. After that, it says much more details, so I have not listed over here. So many of the Western scientists, they discard the biblical facts as something not real. But Indian historical records, they are showing that Adam and Hawa did took birth and they ruled for so many years. Then the entire episode of Noah is described in Bhavishya Purana, and Noah was the person who survived the deluge, and along with him the 88,000 rishis from India, and so on. We know this entire history from our Puranas. Now, friends, all these names I have cross checked with biblical records. All these names match to a great extent to the names which have been given in the biblical records. So, neither the biblical records nor the Bhavishya Puran, they are stories. They are the real historical facts which people should open their eyes to. And we should also realize that Bhagwan Ram took birth 2.1 million years BC and Bhagwan Krishna took birth roughly around this time, in the time of Pandavas. That was about 100,000 years BC. So we should, since these are historical records, these must be considered very seriously and with full authentication. We can prove that these are the actual birth times of Bhagwan Krishna and Bhagwan Rama. So I've told you all of this so that you are able to know, you are able to understand that all the history that is given in our text are not stories, they are real hard historical facts. Okay. Now in these three lectures, now you have got an idea about the time scales in Hindu scriptures and the historical records of Hindu kings, the Hindu history. Now many people might say that okay, at present this is today the civilization we have today is the most advanced civilization. But this is only a conjecture. We are only imagining that ours is the most advanced civilization. There might have been many civilizations before us who were far more advanced than us. And we should also consider that the history of mankind, which has been told to us, as that of Stone Age, then Ice Age, then Bronze Age, Iron Age, Bronze Age, that is not the correct history. In this, our historical records show and start from 3.89 million years BC. And we have the names of all the kings who were there and the entire duration of their rule. So, with keeping all this in mind, we'll go to the next section of understanding our creation.